So as I mentioned in the essay, I recorded everything separately, by which I'm referring to the strings and the notes of every string for the kind of chord steps revolving around D, D sus4, etc. And I did that twice, so I panned one set of notes, so basically one chord if you like left, then I panned the other set I recorded of the 5 strings in total per set, because the E string wasn't being played. Panned those right, and after that I still wasn't quite satisfied with how close it sounded to the original record, although, as I mentioned, in the end I didn't get as close in general as I would have liked to. But anyway, that's why I recorded an extra layer, actually 2 extra layers of more distorted guitar that kind of fill out the really brittle, clean, jangly tone, which sit a lot lower in the mix, as you can hear here. Also, as I explained, I used faster compression on the higher strings because, naturally speaking, when you play guitar, the strings you hit first with a pick when you're playing a chord, strumming a chord, are the strings which most energy is expended into, if that makes sense. So by manipulating the attack and the release time, and by using faster compression on the high strings compared to the D and the A string, the lower strings, I ended up getting a sound that's slightly more natural. So here is an example of what I meant by the different inversions. I've looped this chord. Let me turn up the click track. And I have summed them into these 5 channels. Now everything is at unity. You can tell it doesn't really sound like a normal D chord being played in the way that's the normal way of recording it would sound. And if I now manipulate the volume, so as you can tell, hopefully from this video, by changing the levels of the notes, although I just did it quickly now to illustrate this idea, the louder strings take precedence over the quieter strings, if that makes sense, and or pitches. So that means, although naturally if you play a G note on the high E string, which would be the 3rd fret, it would be the very last note to be struck if you're strumming across all strings. However, if I turn that note up in isolation and it's louder than the other notes, it creates the illusion that it's struck first. And by doing that and combining different levels between different notes, to me, I get kind of almost the sound of the chord, or at least the inversion, meaning the order of the notes in the chords changing, which is quite interesting. Next to the fact that obviously it also allows for individual processing of the notes, as I already showcased with the compression.